Hello, my name is Anna Boldyreva. I am from the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology. I am going to present to you the paper about extracting people's opinions about 2020 amendments to the Constitution of Russian Federation. On January the 15th, 2020, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, in his message to the Russian Parliament, proposed a number of amendments to the Constitution. A nationwide vote was held and the new constitution entered into force on July the 4th, 2020. The proposal drew fierce criticism from opposition both in media and on social networks. Under these circumstances, the administration of the Russian Presidential Academy of National Economy and Public Administration, RNEPA, proposed to carry out a study in order to assess the attitude of population to the proposals to the constitution. The requirement to research was to use sources that are difficult to accuse in excessive subjectivity and bias. In other words, we could not use traditional sources of information in the form of public opinion polls, content of discussions in various forums, or papers in expert editions. Why we have chosen the dynamics of queries to internet search engines. In this study, we consider the period from April 2019 to March 2020, 1 full year, and the joint dynamics of population's attitude, both to the amendments and to the authorities. As the question about future elections and the future structure of power has also become the object of numerous discussions. After forming vocabulary of descriptors by Yandex search engine and building the dynamics of attitude to amendments and to authorities in the districts of Russia, we compare the districts of Russia with their attitudes in the period of January-March 2020. In addition, we test hypotheses about the possible national factor in attitude to amendments and to authorities in general. We needed two vocabularies for the topics of amendments and authorities. For the first, we selected descriptors that reflect a negative attitude towards changes in the Constitution. We left only one descriptor from this list, violation of the Constitution, which correlates with the other negative ones as violation of freedom, zeroing, etc. As for positive attitude, we also left only one descriptor, necessary changes in the Constitution, which correlates well with the other positive ones as Putin saved Russia, hidden support, etc. For the second vocabulary, we consider attitude to amendments in the mirror of population's attitude to authorities. Examples are on the screen. There are descriptors reflecting positive and negative emotions in combinations with the word authorities, Putin, President of Russia, Mishustin, Prime Minister, Lenin, Mayor of Moscow, Russia. Then we added words and phrases that offend citizens who support the country leaders and that reflect negative situation in the country economy. In total, we revealed 306 descriptors and 211 from them were the negative ones. So here we consider together the dynamics of a negative attitude towards the topics of authority and amendments. The purpose of a joint presentation is to find a direct connection between them and to identify joint peaks. Each figure in the section will contain two charts with their own scales. The left part of the legend reflects the negative to the topic of authorities, and the right part to the topic of amendments. In all the districts and in Russia in general, the level of the negative to the topic of authority is an order of magnitude higher than for us. It is natural since the topic of amendments is essentially narrower. In only one key descriptor is taken to express an attitude to the amendments. Announcement of future possible changes in January 2020 left almost no trace on graphs on the negative to the topic of authority. The most significant peak at this point occurred in the Republic of Crimea, which possibly reflects the special intolerance of some part of the local region towards this event. In all the districts, one can see rise of the negative attitude to the topic of authority by the middle and the end of March 2020. At the same time, there is also a negative attitude towards the amendments to the Constitution. Perhaps the negative to the topic of authority is associated with a sharp deterioration in economic position of working population due to non-working days and, in the future, quarantine. These actions of the authorities are criticized by part of the population from the point of amendments to the Constitution, when these actions are associated with the authoritarianism of the authorities. However, in some federal districts, the peak of the negative to amendments is not the maximum one of all the period of time, but only one of the several ones. For example, dwellers of Crimea very often react negatively to very different events. It is interesting to note the increase of the negative in April 2019, together with the fact that April the 11th, 2019 is the Constitution Day of the Republic of Crimea. Comparable peaks of the negativity to amendments are observed in the North Caucasus in December 2019 and March 2020. There is a large increase of the negative level in Siberia in October 2019. Perhaps it is a new surge in the topic of selling Siberian forests to China. To compare federal districts, we considered negative and positive attitudes separately. In preprocessing, we accounted for the number of population in a district, the degree of internet usage, and the total number of curious in territory at each moment of time. Then the average levels of the negative and the positive to the topic of amendments in each federal district were calculated. Finally, these data were scaled on the summarized level of the negative and positive for all the districts. Crimea is considered separately from the Southern Federal District to which it belongs. In this figure, we show the normalized level of the negative to the topic of amendments to the Constitution, in percentage in the federal districts of Russia and in Crimea. The total negative level is taken as 100%. The difference with respect to the average is relatively small and equal to 6%. One can see the following. The minimum negative level is observed at the northwest, south, and center. A high negative level reveals itself at the far east that does not correspond to the maximum positive attitude towards the authorities. A change of authority structures took place in the regions of this federal district in autumn of 2020. And here perhaps a different attitude towards the regional and federal authorities is revealed. The maximum level of dissatisfaction in Crimea can be explained by the presence of a significant number of dwellers of Ukrainian nationality and Crimean Tatars. Among them, there is a significant number of persons dissatisfied with the new status of the peninsula. The maximum level of dissatisfaction in Crimea can be explained by the presence of a significant number of dwellers of Ukrainian nationality and Crimean Tatars. Among them, there is a significant number of persons dissatisfied with the new status of the peninsula. The same research, but we took the positive levels. The difference with respect to the average is relatively large and equal to 20%. Here, the minimum positive level in Crimea is a natural reflection of the maximum level of dissatisfaction towards the amendments. The low positive level at the North Caucasus seems strange. The government's initiatives are traditionally supported there. The Southern District has the maximum positive attitude, although it also has the maximum negative attitude towards the authorities. Here, the situation is similar to that observed at the Far East, namely a different attitude towards the regional and federal authorities. In this figure, we show the normalized level of the negative to the topic of authorities in percentage in the federal districts of Russia and Crimea. The total negative level is taken as 100%. The difference with respect to the average is high and equal to 28%. Here, the minimum level of the negative at the northwest can be explained by the increased attention of the Russian authorities to St. Petersburg, as the largest city in the district and the second capital of Russia. The maximum level of dissatisfaction in Crimea is quite correlated with the maximum level of dissatisfaction towards amendments. The maximum level of the negative in the southern district can be explained by poor administration at the Stavropol region and Krasnodar region, which was repeatedly reported by the media. The same research, but we took the positive levels. The difference with respect to the average is relatively high and equal to 16%. The minimum level of the positive at the North Caucasus seems strange. There, population traditionally support both the regional and federal authorities. The low level of the positive in Crimea and the southern district is a reflection of a large negative attitude towards the authorities. The maximum level of positive attitude is observed at the Far East. In this federal district, a change of power structures in the regions took place in autumn, and the new government already had significant achievements. The high level of the negative and the low level of the positive in relation to amendments in Crimea made us put forward an assumption about the relation of these features with share of the Ukrainian population in the districts. Indeed, there are 15% of Ukrainians in Crimea, that is more than in other districts. We tested this hypothesis not only in relation to amendments, but also in relation to authority in general. The null hypothesis in each case consists in that there is no significant statistical relationship between the considered indicators. The initial information is presented in this table. It shows the normalized values of share of the Ukrainian population in the districts of Russia and Crimea in percentage, as well as the contribution of the districts to the negative and positive with respect to amendments and to authorities in percentage. At the 5% significance level we have, there is a reason to believe that there is a relationship between attitude to amendments and share of the Ukrainian population. The available data say about absence of a significant relationship between attitudes toward authorities and the share of Ukrainians. Here are some other implications of internet signal approach. We used them for economic purposes, market prices, excess mortality, morbidity rates, demography, crime rates, etc., to build oil prices influence ratings by territories, for opinion mining, to estimate recession possibilities. So, in general, they may be used to quickly analyze the economic and social situation, to control of the reliability of official published data, to monitor the performance of the macro and microeconomy social parameters in different countries in real time, to identify predictors of recession. This pilot study shows the ability of such queries to correctly reflect attitude of population towards the actions of authorities. The proposed technology can be a useful tool for political scientists, economists, and sociologists when A. necessary information is absent or distorted, and B. information appears with a delay. These results are included in annual report of the Department of System Analysis in Informatics of the RENEPA.